Hey, what's up, everybody? Ethan Daly here from the GigRoots podcast. I'm your host for incredible interviews with inspirational people from all across America. On this show, we tell real stories that don't shy away from the challenges of moving from marginalized to mainstream. Each episode, we speak with the people who are diligently working toward community transformation at the grassroots level. Let's go. Hey everyone, Ethan Daly here. I want to welcome you to this special feature episode of the GigRoots podcast where we get to dig a little bit deeper into the lives of some of the stories that we like to tell. We're going to get right into it, so let's get started.
Mama, I've been searching, and I can't find anyone with hair like mine. Well, honey, that's because no two people are the same. Everyone has different hair, nose, eyes, and toes. I thought, what about Gabby and Mackenzie? They look the same. Well, except that Gabby's face is round and hair is wavy and brown. So I guess she's right about them.
That's the lovely voice of Miss Cece. She's the host of Storytime with Miss Cece on YouTube, where she curates a collection of children's books read aloud to viewers. In perusing through her collection, what's immediately noticeable is that many of the books being read aloud tend to feature children of color. The book you hear her reading is titled Hair Like Mine, written by Latashia Perry. Latashia wrote Hair Like Mine back in 2015. As she tells it, the book was written as a response to an unsettling situation during her daughter's ballet lesson.
Hello, everybody. So up here I have Austin, Cassidy, Carrington, and Justin. And then our fifth is Nixon over there. And they are the inspiration behind Kids Like Mine. And so in 2015, I wrote the first book, Hair Like Mine, after my oldest daughter had an issue with the girl in class. She teased her about her hair. So I started looking for books that talked about self-love, self-esteem, natural hair, that kind of thing. And when I couldn't find one, I created my own. And so, thank you.
The books Latashia writes have performed phenomenally. So far, she's sold over 30,000 copies on Amazon alone. They've even been translated into other languages and are being sold internationally. All of this, of course, has stemmed from the creative process of a busy mom, a supportive husband, and a household of 5 children. You just heard Latashia retelling the story during a pitch event held in her hometown of Flint, Michigan in 2019. The gathering is being held by Flint Soup, an organization that convenes community members to hear the stories of entrepreneurs over soup, salad, and lively conversation. Flint Soup is run by co-founders Adrian Montag and James Shuttlesworth. They started it after receiving inspiration during a community prayer meeting held by their local church.
Right, so Flint Soup, so both Adrian and I had worked within Flint for quite a while, and we, I'm trying to think where we should start. Where's a good place to start?
Probably where we met.
Where we met? Okay.
Yeah.
So, so we were part of a group that were just kind of walking through the downtown Flint area, doing a prayer walk because we're both Christian, and somebody invited us to a prayer walk, and so I was praying, Lord, I would love to see somebody come into the city and just disrupt some of the things that I don't agree with, or just help bring the city back to what we know it really could be. And Adrian comes up to me and she's like, "Hi, I'm Adrian, and I really feel like God kind of wants me to help the city, and there's some stuff I want to bring in here." I'm like, "Oh, really? Wow."
So so we're like, hey, well, why don't we go around and talk about it and pray?
Yeah. So as we go around and talk and pray about it, she tells me about this this idea that she heard of in Detroit.
Mhm.
And she's so excited about it. It was people getting together and bringing little crock pots of soup together and talking about their ideas and kind of self-funding their ideas. Over in Detroit, what they were kind of funding was arts programs, and what was the other one?
Social justice.
Arts and social justice, because that's, if you know Detroit, then that's very core to the values of Detroit.
So it's taking a similar concept, but pairing it or marrying it well with the startup and small business. Because what we saw was that people kept on telling us that, 1, I have an idea, 2, I don't know where the resources are, and 3, I don't have any funding.
So when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs of color, is access to capital the main problem? Or is there a deeper issue going on? As many business people will tell you, having the funding is only as good as having a plan as to how best to use it. It's organizations like Flint Soup and dozens of others that are building relationships locally. They are often the unsung heroes, the ESOs that are working on the sidelines to connect emerging entrepreneurs with a variety of resources and support. I caught up with Latashia to talk about the inspiration behind her books, what's next for her growing company, and what life is like right now being a mompreneur at home during the pandemic. Latashia Perry, how you doing today?
I am wonderful, thank you. It's still quiet hour at my house, so this is great.
And you got 5 kids is what you told me before. So for it to be quiet at 9:30 in the morning, that's pretty impressive.
Yes. From 8, well, he'll be 18 in September. So from 18 on down to 3.
Wow, man. And you are a well-known author, right? You've written several children's books, is what I understand.
I have.
Can you talk to me about what those books are?
So I have a series called the Kids Like Mine series, and it started off with the first book, Hair Like Mine, and I released that book in 2015. And so I never intentionally wrote a series. It started off as just a book for our oldest daughter. She's 9. And we put her in a ballet class, and she was the only Black girl in the class. And so her hair was in 2 Afro puffs, and they were kind of like 2 curly Afro puffs, and a little girl made fun of her hair in the class. And so when I picked, and parents aren't allowed to be in the class during the ballet lessons. And so when I picked her up, she was like, I'm not going back. She was about 4 or 5 at the time. But she said, I'm not going back. I don't want nothing to do with that class. The kids are mean. And I'm like, what happened? And she said, well, this little girl made fun of my hair. She asked me, why was I wearing my hair like that? And why does my hair look funny? And so, the mama in me at first was just like, okay, we ain't going back. And I want to know who this little girl is. But then I thought, okay, wait a minute. Let's use this as a teaching moment. And so I started looking for books that talked about diversity, that talked about curly hair, that type of thing. And there weren't any. There were a few, I would say maybe 2 or 3 that I found. And I didn't particularly like the titles of those books. Like one was called, and not to just, discredit anyone's work, but there was one called Happy to Be Nappy. And I was like, I kind of would prefer a different title, And so I was like, well, instead of complaining about it, maybe I should write my own book. And and I always say this, like, one of the embarrassing things about all of this is that we have 2 boys before we had her. And I never, ever thought about finding books that had little Black boys in it, because my boys they weren't into it. They were worried about trucks. and cars and dinosaurs. And funny enough, there was a study done that there were like 85 or 90% more books that featured animals and other things more than it featured African American children. So that just kind of puts things into perspective there, you know. But
Right,
like I said,
right.
I never thought about it. And it's not to say that boys don't need books that feature them, because that's far from the truth. They absolutely need them. But I think my daughter, it just really kind of like brought it to the forefront for me, because growing up, there weren't any books that featured characters that looked like myself. And I just accepted it because it was what it was, you know. And so we wrote, I would say 3 nights in a row. And I always like to share this part of the story for creatives, because a lot of creatives understand. But like for 3 nights in a row, I kept waking up in the middle of the night. And so I would wake up and I'm like, why am I waking up? Why can I not sleep? The kids, my husband is asleep. Why am I waking up in the middle of the night? So the 3rd night, okay, like, what do you want me to do? And I just, as clear as day, could hear, grab a pen and paper. So I grabbed pen and paper and I started writing and I started writing and I started writing. And about 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning, my husband woke up and I said, can I read you something? And he was like, yeah. And I read it to him. He was like, that's cool. You know, who wrote that? I was like, me. I wrote it. And he was like, wow, we need to do something with that. And so that was the birth of Hair Like Mine. And so we got it published, a publishing company out of Detroit. And what it actually is she is a independent publishing company that helps publishers to be self-published. So you're self-published through her.
Now, had you ever written anything before? Or was this your first time?
Growing up, you know, like growing up, writing was always my thing. Like, I would write short stories and I would write poems. In fact, I had this, now I'm telling my age, but I had a trapper keeper, and I kept all of my stuff inside of the trapper keeper.
Yes, yes. Yep, I'm right there with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have my stories and my notes in the trapper keeper, and
Oh man.
But once I got married, had kids, writing just kind of was on the back burner, and I never really thought more about it until that incident came, and it kind of ignited something in me, because once I wrote Hair Like Mine, then all of these ideas for other books start coming. And then as I started researching, I was just noticing, like I said, this was 5 years ago, and there just weren't many books out there for children that look like mine. And so that's where Kids Like Mine came from. And it wasn't and I, you know, of course, the amount of support that I've gotten from this has been, I mean, mind-blowing. But there are those people every now and then that question the title. And so I always say I didn't create Kids Like Mine to exclude anyone, but it was actually just to it just encouraged self-love in children like mine. And I'm sorry, I have my little one that just woke up. But
perfect. There you go. There you go.
This is my baby. He's 3. This is our little one. But so, you know, and I always tell people that, like, and what helps with that too is that I had moms that come to me from all different cultural backgrounds that say, hey, your books helped not only my daughter, but my son. And it helped to start a conversation in our house that maybe we weren't having. So I say, yeah, my books were written with the intent to encourage self-love and inspire little Black and brown children. But my books are for everybody, because we are all struggling with something. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, the context of the book, I mean, I looked online before, I saw a little bit of it, but I mean, the context of the book is very much like, it seems to be inclusive, and it seems to be very much of the idea that we should celebrate all of our uniqueness.
Yes, yes, and that's what it is. It's, I always say, just giving everyone space to be themselves and be happy in that. And that's what I hope that my books do, So and so with everything that's going on, the next title, Skin Like Mine, I wrote that one. It was released in 2016 and it has done well, but the last few months it's just been wow. Nothing that I would have ever imagined would have happened with just me, because I don't have a marketing team or anything like that. So
And do you attribute, how much of that do you just attribute to kind of the general climate or conversation about race that we're having right now?
Oh, I would say, because the sales were good, but the sales are so I would say at least 80% of it for sure is because of just people want to be more aware. Moms now, teachers, they are trying to diversify their classrooms, their libraries at home. And we're in a time now where you can no longer just turn a blind eye or a deaf ear. It's in your face. And if you aren't going to get to your kids before they come to you, they're going to come with some questions, and you better be ready to have some answers for them.
Do you have any sense of just kind of the breakdown of your sales in terms of who's buying it? I mean, you're talking about teachers and schools and other folks. I mean, between black and white, I'm just curious kind of what the demographics look like.
So on Amazon, it's hard to tell, but I can tell where the sales are, from just some sales in the US and then sales in the UK. So I can tell. So in June, we sold on Amazon alone around 30,000 copies. And then my own personal sales, what I'm able to do is see that a lot of, I would say 70% are white teachers, male and female. I'm so sorry.
No, I was going to say, by the way, I love that you're able to just multitask so seamlessly right now. I think this is perfect. Right. It gives everybody a really clear picture, right? Like this is what's going on, right? This is real.
It is. But yeah, so I've had a lot of teachers that have contacted me because they've started YouTube channels to help keep literacy and reading going in the homes. Those teachers are white. I mean, like I said, about 80% of them have been white that have been contacting me. And surprisingly, I've had a lot of males. I'm used to women, contacting me about this, but sure, the amount of males that have been contacting me lately has I love it. It's been awesome.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I remember as a kid, because I'm biracial, but I remember as a kid, my hair getting made fun of for my hair all the time. It has a kind of a, I've got curls, I've got sort of some kinks, just kind of a different texture. And it was really hard. I mean, I felt like I was getting it from both sides sometimes, just depending on who you're talking to, So yeah, it resonates very strongly. So talk about the context in where you live, because you're in Flint, Michigan.
I am.
And so just give me kind of the local context for some of this stuff. I mean, you're talking about that ballet class. I mean, your daughter's experience, is that typical within the community?
Yeah, hair is, it's such a huge topic in the Black community, and with biracial women as well. It's just big. It's big. Hair is just everything. And so we're constantly trying to figure out, if you straighten your hair, then you have the people who wear their hair like mine, natural, the ones that say, oh, so that's a form of self-hate. And then if you're wearing your hair curly, oh, you don't look professional, and it's just all of these things. And so hair has just been a big topic for women just for so long in our community. And so when I wrote the story, it was one thing that a lot of moms came to me and said, like, I needed something like this when I was growing up,
right.
Because we're all struggling. When I had my our daughter she'll be 10 in November, and when I had her, I really started thinking about a lot of the things that I was doing. And I'm a big believer in, we can tell kids all day one thing, but what we do it says far more than what we will ever say.
Absolutely.
And so no judgment to women who straighten their hair at all. But for me, it was just it was an intentional decision that I wanted to no longer straighten my hair. I wanted to wear it in its natural state, just so that when I was trying to encourage her to be herself and be happy being herself, I didn't want her to look at me and like, well, you straighten your hair, so are you practicing what you preach, So I cut all of my hair off and grew it back out, and I've been wearing it natural ever since. And
what has that been like for you?
That I do. It was freeing for me, but it came with some backlash. It did, because initially, for one, again, going back to the hair with Black women, having long hair is just like, a great, huge deal. So here I am, this Black woman with long hair, and you're gonna cut your hair, Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I'm cutting my hair. So that's, the first thing with Black women is like, you don't ever cut long hair, because we can't grow. And it's like, that's not true, but that's another thing. But so I was met with backlash because I cut all of it off. And not only did I cut it, but I cut it really short because I was cutting it right to where the curly roots started. So I had about 1 inch of hair. My husband, on the other hand, was extremely supportive. And actually, years prior, he has always said, I don't know why you keep straightening your hair. Why won't you let your hair grow out and just rock it like that? And I'm like, no, I need my hair straight. It needed to be straight. And yeah, when I made the decision, I mean, he was my biggest cheerleader, but, I had people like my mom, and it's just because of the times that she's from, she would say things like, well, are you going to ever straighten it again? Or can you just straighten it for me? Or I would love to see it just straighten one more time, things like that. Or I'm also a lactation consultant. And so when I went for my interview, one of the questions my mom said was, so what are you going to do with your hair? And I'm like, I'm going to wear it like I always do,
Right.
So,
right.
because, there's this misconception that that natural hair isn't, it's not tidy and it's not professional enough. So
of course.
Yeah, but like my daughter will be 10 in November, and I did this when she was turning 2. So I think people get it, like, oh, the curly hair is not going anywhere now. So, now they accept it. But
yeah. I was going to ask for your daughter, who's kind of watched this process and who had that experience in that ballet class. What has this done for her?
For one, when she was littler, we would read at night, or I would come do classroom visits and read in the classroom. And she was always, can we read my book? The book with me, because she's on the cover. So,
sure.
So, and so it did exactly what I hoped that it was going to do. She is all about big curly hair. That's what she's always asking me, can you make my hair bigger? And I love it, because not a lot of girls at her school wear their hair like hers. And we are in Grand Blanc, 15 minutes away from Flint. And so the classrooms are predominantly white. So as she got older, I was worried, was her perspective going to change about hair because she's around girls who don't look like her? And no, not at all. She loves her hair. And what it has done is because we had another little girl after her. And so it just trickled down to her, because I think she sees her big sister that she loves her hair. Mommy loves her hair. And so I just fall in line, and I love my hair too, so.
And that's when you know that you've really started to do something.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly,
when you see that.
Exactly.
Cultivating love for Black hair across multiple generations, that's hopefully a positive sign of things to come. If popular media is any indication, promoting self-acceptance of Black hair is gaining some serious ground. Audiences may remember the animated short entitled Hair Love by Matthew Cherry, Earlier this year, that short took the Oscar at the 92nd Academy Awards, and it's currently being made into an extended animated series running on HBO Max. Side note, animator Carl Jones of Boondocks fame is also set to be attached to the series. Meanwhile, Latashia Perry's book series is all over YouTube. There are tons of channels featuring both teachers and kids reading her books aloud, receiving thousands of views. And often Perry is not the only Black children's author to be featured. All of this could be a sign that ethnic hair is becoming far more normalized. But the added element to all of this is, of course, supporting women and Black-owned businesses. The nuances to this are distinct for every particular city and town. Here's Adrian and James again to discuss. How would you describe the environment in Flint, Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, even when James and I were just discussing this not too long ago, that we weren't shocked, but we were incredibly proud that when the riots started breaking out around various cities, the news that we were hearing is peaceful protests. We heard that no injuries, no death, no arrests, and it's incredible, especially coming from a city who's known for their violence. I think we've been having this dialogue for the last 10 years or more, so this isn't new. It's like we got to work a long time ago, and so we've been having these dialogues, and it is messy. It is incredibly messy. There's a lot of preconceived ideas and notions that you might not even believe that you're believing or walking in or, walking out. But it's just having that intentional dialogue with people to say, oh man, I had no idea, or I didn't understand, or I can't even imagine.
Adrian is speaking here about listening and cultivating empathy. In today's environment, ain't much of this going on, to be honest. So when we can achieve it, the outcomes can be, well, in Latashia's words, amazing.
James and Adrian have just been amazing. One of the things is right away, I think they saw the passion that I have for the work that I do. And so they have been just instrumental in getting resources to me that help me grow a lot. And so initially, when I pitched at Flint Soup, I was nervous because, like I said, I never know if people are receptive to what I'm doing. Sometimes people feel offended when someone wants to create something to empower a particular group. And that was never my intention, to include others. It was just, like I said, to empower, just to give there was such a lack of books for kids that look like mine. So I wanted to create those, but it wasn't never to exclude others, And
Right.
So I was nervous about that, and nervous about people being receptive to what I was doing and how I wanted to further what I was doing, but it was just the opposite. People loved what I was doing. So many people have reached out because they want to help, they want to support, they want to get the books in their classrooms, or get the books in their churches, or get the books in their homes, or gift the books to others. And so when I won that night, it was just another confirmation that I'm on the right path and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Now, so you've got several books out at this point, right? You've got kind of the series, and you've had what sounds like an overwhelmingly positive response to these books.
Yeah.
What's next for you? What's some of the next steps that you're working toward?
So I have 6 books, and my daughter she's always the reason. Both of them, they're always giving me all these ideas. So she'll be 10 in November, and she's like, I need some books for me. So again, I've been searching online, and there is not many books for that tween age with little Black girls on there. There's not many. So that's what we're doing. We're creating a series for tweens. I'm actually working on it now and hoping that it'll be complete in October. I'm stretched thin right now because I'm homeschooling and still doing the business and still working, but
Right, you have tons of spare time. Yeah,
right,
of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm writing when I'm able to, and then also the biggest thing right now that's going on is I have a bookmobile that we have. So I purchased a it's kind of like an RV, I guess, but I purchased it last year, and I've been looking for one for like 3 years, and so we finally found one, and it's being renovated now. It was supposed to be done in June, and then COVID happened, so everything, of course, is pushed back. But it's being renovated now. Like, we just picked out the floors and the colors that are going to go on the wall, and so this is exciting because it should be finished in October as well. And so what we wanted to do with the bookmobile is one of the things I was noticing when I was having community events in Flint is that a lot of the kids that I was trying to get this message out to, they weren't able to get to these events. They didn't have access to the events. They don't have access to transportation. They didn't have access to technology. So they weren't able to, they were able, luckily, some of the Flint schools have purchased books for me and they give them to the kids for free, but there are still a lot of kids who weren't able to really understand the message that I was trying to convey. So I thought initially we wanted a brick and mortar. And then I'm like, you're still going to run into the problems with transportation. So I'm like, what about a bookmobile where I can go directly into the community and reach these kids right where they're at? And so I had this vision of, setting up the bookmobile in different neighborhoods, having story time, doing activities, and then the parents can get on the bus and the kids as well, but the parents can purchase items that are on the bookmobile. And these aren't just items from me, but other Black authors who have created books for Black children, Black and brown children, and other items. Because I also have puzzles and I have a doll and T-shirts, and so just other entrepreneurs in the community that have products that mimic my mission. Those will be available on the bookmobile as well. So I call it the Kids Like Mine Book Boutique. I thought boutique sound cuter.
I love that. Latashia. That's amazing. That's
you.
fantastic. So what if you're trying to take this even further? What sort of resources are you looking for in order to really expand this?
Yeah, so Ryan LaFontaine, and he's owns dealerships in the community, so I'm sure everyone is familiar with him. He blessed me with a monetary donation, so he has helped out a lot. But I'm still working on just filling out grants to just help fund the whole project. I recently just applied for one, so I should be hearing back in a few days here. So, we're just high hopes for that, but just kind of reaching out to get sponsors just to help with funding this whole project, being able to purchase my own products to put on there, purchase other products to put on, and then just for marketing, so that's just been the really biggest thing. It's just getting the word out that we're going mobile, and if you want to get us in your neighborhood, here's how.
So speaking of getting the word out, tell everybody who's going to be listening to this, how can we find the books? How can we find out more about you? And then how can they support, your business directly?
Yes. So I'm very active on Instagram. Didn't used to be because I am not a social media person.
me neither, to be honest, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to do better.
Yep. We all trying to do better. Yep.
So,
but it's necessary.
Right. That's what I said. It is necessary. So let me just get with the times, as my husband tells me, get with the times. So,
right.
So I'm on Instagram, the 4 Kids Like Mine. I am on Facebook, same, 4 Kids Like Mine, and also Latashia Perry. And I have a website, www.4kidslikemine.com. And so
Excellent.
People can purchase from there. Oh, people can also purchase from Amazon. My books are inside of Barnes & Noble stores, Target. They're inside of Target stores, but not in Michigan yet. So fingers crossed they'll be here soon. But they've been spotted in Target in Atlanta and Washington. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And also stores in Paris. They are in Paris. I'm sorry, I forgot that because they've been translated to French. So
Wow.
yeah.
Excellent. Really good stuff. So Latashia Perry, thank you so much for your time. Really excited for you. Congratulations on just the success so far, and just we'll continue to kind of keep us posted as things move forward.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ethan, for having me. Thank you.
I encourage everyone to check out Latashia's books and to keep an eye out for a bookmobile headed near you. Thanks as well to Adrian and James at Flint Soup for sharing their heart and vision. The relationships between emerging entrepreneurs and the organizations that support them can be truly transformational. That's why coming up on the GigRoots podcast, we'll look to feature more in-depth interviews like this one that can help provide multiple dimensions to the story of grassroots economics in America. Stay tuned as there's lots more to come. Follow GigRoots on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.